Hello, welcome back to my channel. This will be part 3 for the Gather at Home folio that we are making with the beautiful Gather at Home collection from Carta Bella. So in the last video we constructed page number 2 that's not attached into the album yet, and we've made our lay flat box. I think that's what I'm going to call it, a lay flat storage box. So what I wanted to do in this video is do some decorating on page 2 so we can attach it and finish off the construction for the backside cover, and then I will see if I will film more decorating or if I just finish it up and do a project share. I'm not sure yet, but I'm going to start up with page 2. I'm going to repeat basically here what I did for my other album. So I've selected the 3 papers that I want to use. The way that I'm going to do it, I'm going to use 3 different papers. So I'm going to use this one with that beautiful black and that flower pattern. Fresh Floral is the name of the paper. And then I'm going to combine it with this pink, which has this pattern on the back, which I'm not in love with this pattern. And this one is called Stay a While. These really tiny flowers, and that's the back side of this paper. I like this, but I hardly ever use these sort of patterns in my albums. I don't know, it just doesn't work for me. But okay, so this is what I wanted to do. And basically what I did, so I also need to keep it in because page 1 is attached, but I'm also going to do this side of page 1, the back side. So I'm just going to do those 2 at once. So I put that flower pattern on the top of this flap, and I think I also put it here. I'm not sure anymore, did I? I have my album here so I can check. And then we are going to also make this this closure. So, oh no, I did that flower pattern there. Yeah, I remember. Okay. So basically what I will be doing is the flower pattern. Again, I'm going to cut it down to 12 inches because it has that half-inch stripper at the bottom, right? So I'm going to cut it to 12, and then I'm going to cut it in half again to 6 inches. And then I know I need to cut it down for this part a little bit more. Okay, so again, I've cut that in half. I'm trying to save some of this paper for my 3rd album, but if it's not gonna work out, that's fine. Okay, so I am kind of in doubt if I want to change it up a little bit with how I did it, but let's see. So here, this is 5 1/8 of an inch, so I'm going to cut it to 4 7/8 in height a piece. And I need to cut that down in width because this is only 5 7/8, right? So I'm going to cut it to 5 5/8. Okay, let's see what do I have, because I'm not sure if I got it completely right, but oh, that's fine. Okay, so I have that one. So this is the loose flap, right, from the that we're gonna slide in the pocket. And then from that same sheet I can cut my pieces for my flap here. So this flap is 3 3/4, so I'm going to cut that to 3 1/2, and I'm going to cut it from the top 3 1/2, and then my pocket here is 1 3/8, so I'm going to cut it to 1 1/8 of an inch, again from the top, so the pattern is going to be continuous. Better. Okay, so I can stick those in place. I have this left, so see if I am going to save it or if I'm going to use it for something. So I'm inking my edges with black soot, just like I did on the other piece in the previous video. I hope that was somewhat to follow, because I've edited the video a little bit where I removed some pieces where I was just, yeah, it didn't work out, and I felt like it was only going to be confusing to leave it in the video, and also the video was so long. So I hope it was alright, you could follow along. But I didn't have my head in the game, I guess, that morning. Okay, so I'm going to glue these pieces down. So I know what I'm doing, right? Normally I would try out if I like combinations of patterns before I stick everything down. But now I know what I'm doing. I've already done this in the other album. So I'm not going to worry about it too much because I know what it's going to look like. And this pattern here on the back would also be a really good combination to use on your flaps, right? Where I'm going to use the small flower pattern. This nice dark green, which has a little bit of a pattern in there, would also work really good with this paper. Or one of the solids. But I'm trying not to use the solids in the album, because I might use them on the cover. But I don't have a clear vision for that yet, which is a bad thing because I should have a clear vision about it. But lately I'm struggling with my covers to get an idea for what I want to do. I think I'm just overthinking it mostly, but okay. So just try to even out my border. So this works fine while it's in the cover, but the front of the first page is a little bit harder to get it all in place. And as you can see, you have to have your whole folio on your work surface while you're decorating, and that can also be a little annoying. So now I'm going to go to my pink pattern. And again, I think I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut it down to 12, cut off that ½ inch and cut it in half to 6 inches. Okay, so these flaps, they are 1 3/4, so I need my strips to be 1 1/4. So just from one, I'm going to cut off 2 pieces 1 1/4. So let's start with it. I'm going to get my angle punch to make the angles. And for this pattern, don't really have to keep the direction, the orientation of the paper in mind. So, oh wait, I have to cut one down. So this one can go here. Oh right, this is 6. Oh, I keep forgetting that the second page is a little shorter than the first page. I keep forgetting that. So this is 6, so I need to cut that to 5 3/4 and this one to 5 5/8. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, I need to re-angle it, of course. Yes, and now is the length of this one. Okay, fine. Like I said, I measure it with my ruler, so sometimes it's a little, I'm a little off. Okay, let's keep it close, but not, I'm already all over the place, as you can see, but this is basically how I work. One big mess. And then you have to imagine that I am working quite regularly, well, you know what I mean, on more than one project at the same time. So I'm switching between projects. So I have the mess of this project somewhere on a pile, and I have the mess of another project somewhere on a pile, and then maybe I have a design somewhere lying around. And my husband really goes like, how can you work like that? So I asked him How would he think about if I would move this to downstairs to the main living area, so he could work upstairs while when he's working at home, because he works like 3 to 4 days a week he still works at home, and then 1 or 2 days a week he goes to the office. But so I said, yeah, maybe you can work upstairs and then I can work downstairs. He said, no way, that mess is gonna get into my living area. Yeah, fair enough. I get it. Okay, so that's one. Okay, so we have that. So now I'm thinking, and now I remember, that's what I did with this piece that we have left from cutting this half of the sheet. Can go here behind the stacked buckets. Right there. So I'm not gluing it down yet because I want to work on this one. So in my other one, what I did is the flower pattern. I've also put it here. But then I ended up putting a photo mat, gluing that on top of there. And I actually think that's a little bit of a shame of this beautiful paper. So, and in the other one I've rounded the corners, which I am not doing right now. So if I have some photo mats prepared. I can place, maybe I need to crop one down a little bit. Because I did make it fit in the other one. But you have a little bit less of a border, that's fine. And then use that green here. And then do something with the flower pattern here. That's what I'm thinking that I will be doing. So I think I can make this fit. I just have a little bit less of a border, that's fine. I'm going to glue these photo mats down. And then here I can also do another one with some pattern paper next to it. Yeah, I think I like that. Okay, so if you want to, you can place pattern paper all over the piece. I'm not going to tell you that you cannot do that. Just keep in mind that that gives a little bit more bulk, right? This Carta Bella paper, it's quite thick, sturdy paper. And it's giving you some bulk. So if you're going to place a photo on top of that, and maybe a photo with a background mat, then you're really going to create some layers. So keep that in mind. That's why I always make designated areas for photos to reduce that bulk a little bit. Okay, so maybe you want to crop the photo down slightly because you have a little bit less of a play area here. Just make sure that you don't go over the score line. So this is a removable glue stick from Scotch. It's acid free, it works really well, it's quick. The photo mat stays in place as long as you want it. You can remove it and replace it. I really enjoy working with this. Okay, and then the other one. So this is again what's going in the pocket. And then this is the page itself, and I'm going to place it along the binding side. So here you have a little bit more black border. And then I'm going to get into that green paper. And here, because I'm going to cut strips, I'm not going to cut it in half. I also know I'm not going to use a whole lot of this, so that's fine. I'm going to do a measurement, so 2 1/4. So I'm going to cut a strip 2 1/8 of an inch from this piece. And then I'm going to cut that down to 5, 2 pieces of 5. Okay, so I did 2 1/8, right, while we have 2 1/4 here. So in this case, because I have a little bit less of a border on the outside of these photo mats, that's why I'm also going for a little bit less of a border between the photo mat and the pattern paper. I cannot determine if there is a direction to this paper. I don't see it, I guess. Okay, so let's glue that in place. We can think of an embellishment later on, but now I like to get the main decorating done, and the embellishment, that's something that I worry about later. Sometimes I have something in my mind that I want to do and then I do it right away, but in this time that's not the case. So we've done that. That looks nice. Clean and simple. Then from cutting those two strips, I have a piece here that is a little bit over 2 inches by 2 inches approximately. And I can use that for punching out my circles for the closure. So I've already prepared the closure a little bit. I have this stitched circle die set. That is my most used die set. Mainly this one, because this one I've already made two, gives me a perfect border for a 1-inch circle. And I know people might be asking me for a link towards these. If I can find it, I will link them, but I don't know the name of it anymore, so I really would have to go back and search for it. And then I have a 1-inch circle punch. This is basically the only circle punch that I own. And I'm going to try to make 2 1-inch circles out of this scrap piece of paper. Last time I succeeded, so let's try again. Oh yeah, I was a little bit in doubt if I wasn't too close to the edge there. That's one. And then here in the other corner, I should be able to do another one. That's 2. And then this I will just throw away. So I am going to ink this and glue it on top of the black circle. So I have it prepared and I don't have to worry about that scrap piece anymore. So again, I know what I'm doing, right? I already know which patterns I want to use. If you don't know, then it might be a little bit of a harder decision on what combinations you want to make, and you want to wait a little bit longer with making these. But basically you can wait until the end. Unless you want to use an actual brad, then you have to do it before you put your pattern paper on. I'm not going to do an actual brad. Okay, so we have this. I can now cut with the out of this green flower. I also did that on the inside, so let's cut those. 2 pieces that are 1 1/4. And I need 5 3/4 and 5 5/8. So that's I'm not gonna make it out of this one piece. So I'm going to cut off 2 strips, 1 1/4. Okay, and then I need to cut them to size and width, of course. Yes. Okay, so again my corner punch. So here I am going to, yeah, see, it doesn't really matter, but okay, that one goes there, and this one goes here. So again, I will ink this and glue this down. Okay, so for here, I'm gonna go back to my flower pattern paper, and I only have to have the 6 by 12. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off a piece 5 inches and then cut it to width. So I have that other piece left, and then I need, so here I have a little bit more than 2, so I will cut it a little bit over 2 1/8 of an inch, and you can determine for yourself what side is it that you want to use. I think I'm going to cut it off of this side, a little bit more pink, and the rest I will save for later, for probably the other album. Okay, I like that. So then we have all the main decorating prepared, and then we can work on the closure. Okay, for this closure, I had this scrap piece of black that I've used to make the circles with my die set. And from that same scrap piece, so this is just a piece that I had left over from construction, right? I'm going to, 4 1-inch circles I'm going to cut out of here. Yeah, 4 worked for me fine. Let's see. I'm going to see how something else works, but so basically what I did is, for the bottom, you want to use some how do you call this? Oh my goodness, it just doesn't come to me. I want to say thread, but it's not thread, it's, well, twine or something. Oh, this is terrible. And I'm just going to use some double-sided tape to adhere it on the back of my actual die with the pattern paper. So I always like to use some double-sided tape for that, as well as some wet glue that I will use on one of my 1-inch circles here. And actually, normally I would also always did it with a brad or with an eyelet. And when I made the memory box on Paul Ford, I saw him doing it this way or something close to this, because I'm not completely sure anymore, but this worked for me, so it's fine. But he showed this in his videos where you can do this as an afterthought. Basically, you don't have to go through any paper, you don't have to hide any construction. So you can wait with this until the very last moment if you're not sure on what papers you want to use or how you want to do it. And I think that's really great about this. So what I did is I glued one of the 1-inch circles on top of that to really secure that piece of twine there, and also to give an extra layer. So you can do is put another 1-inch circle on top of that to give a little bit more height to your piece. But I didn't really use it in my other album, and that worked fine for me. So what I did is I got another 1-inch circle here. Or maybe you want to layer that one up, but well, again, I didn't do it, so it's fine. So I'm going to find the center of the flap, right? So that should be around 3 inches. So I'm just lying my ruler here where I find the center. I'm gonna get this 1-inch circle and I'm just going to glue that in the center of the flap. And like I said, I'm not completely sure if I'm doing this the way you're supposed to do it, but it worked for me. So I'm just eyeballing it, that I have it about at the center. I just glue it down completely. And then this one, where I'm going to see like how do I want this to go, I'm going to glue that on top of that circle. But I'm only going to do a little bit of wet glue in the center of this piece. This is strong art glitter glue, right? It's going to hold, but you need to give it some time to dry. So I do have my eye on how do I want to have that thread to go. So I'm just gluing that on top. Give that a good burnish, and then I'm just going to leave it for now. Just let that dry and work on the other one. So I'm going to turn this upside down. And here I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to get myself a 1-inch circle. Find the center, which is a little bit harder here. Maybe it's 2 7/8. No, it's a little... It's just under 3 basically. Something like that. And again, I'm just going to adhere that one down. And like I said, you can double this up for a little bit more room under your circle. And here I'm going to do the same thing. So if you want to, you can make this a little bit stronger with an extra 1-inch circle here. I don't really remember if I did that with the other one. I'm just gonna do it. Like I said, I'm not completely sure anymore, and sometimes I just do stuff and I just think like, oh, I think this will work, or okay, I dab a little bit of glue in the middle, and I'm just going to try to line that up with that circle. You cannot see completely what you're doing, but as long as you're not able to see the bottom circle and you're somewhat centered on your piece, then you should be fine. So again, I'm going to leave this to dry for a second. And come back to this one. I'm going to get this bone folder that has that really flat edge here, and really carefully now I'm going to go underneath my top circle, and I'm holding it in the center because I don't want to rip it loose. So really carefully I'm bending that circle up slightly, so when I want to wrap the thread around, it's not going to be too difficult. So now this one will go in the pocket. And I want it to go in all the way to the score line. We are going to close this. So here I'm going to do the same thing, really careful. So my bone folder is on top of the bottom circle, but under the top circle, in between them basically. And I just train it to go up a little bit. But still I'm trying to be somewhat careful here. And I'm going to wrap my twine around. Oh, and I forgot to make my small circles. Well, I can do that in a second. Where's my scissor? Oh, it's just where it should be, which doesn't happen very often. So I'm just gonna cut it to size. And then basically what I did is I have, well, it's not these. I have another stitched circle here, the smallest one, and then I have one of these from the Sizzix set that is a little bit smaller than that one. So I'm going to make 2 black ones with this one, and then 2 solid pink ones with the smaller ones, and I'm going to attach them there. But I have to find the right die for it. So for now I think I will leave it here. I will finish that off. Okay, I'm going to give myself some room. And I think I'm going to place it in the album now so we can continue. Because what I like to do when I'm decorating is I want to have a vision of everything next to each other. So remember, we have that little pencil line here on that 1/2 inch flap of page 1. When I fold on my 1/2 inch score line of page 2, where I have the gusset here, I'm going to line up the folded edge with those pencil marks, and then of course top to bottom with that hinge. So I'm going to remove this tape backing a little bit, and I'm going to line that up, hold it in place there, and then bring it to where I want it there. Make sure that I'm straight, and burnish that in place. So now that this is in place, I can construct the back cover here. So I already had my pieces prepared for that. And you really want to have something in here to keep the flap closed, because otherwise you're going to bump up your corner there. So we're going to do a little preparation before we actually place it in the cover. So we have our pieces O, P and Q. Piece P is optional, but I find it really easy to use it. So your pieces O, you have 2 pieces of those. You've scored them ½ inch away. You have score line that is ½ inch away from each other. I place tape on the dented side between those score lines. And then you can fold and burnish towards the bumpy side. I've done this before in projects. But when you fold and burnish, make sure that your edges are lined up. Sometimes that's not completely the case, and then you might want to work it a little bit in where they do line up. So we do this for both pieces. See here, they don't line up completely. And that has something to do probably with how straight is your cardstock, yeah, how well did we cut, etc. Okay, so I've got those prepared. Then I'm going to get piece P, and I'm going to make sure that the letter is on the bottom so I don't see it later on. So what am I going to do is I'm going to get one piece O, and I've just folded on one of the score lines. It doesn't matter which one, as long as your tape is going to be at the bottom, and you're going to line up your folded edge with one of the longer cut edges of piece P. And this is a little bit harder because piece P is so small, right? And so it's that's why I don't have any tape on there yet, for example, so it doesn't slip. But just try your best to line up that edge. If you have a little bit of overhang on one side, like I have a teeny tiny bit of overhang there, don't worry about it, that's fine. So I open up the top flap of piece O so I can burnish that ½ inch. And then I'm going to fold the other flap also in that direction. So we have that other part of piece P showing here. And my other piece O, again, just fold on one of your score lines. Your tape is going to go on the bottom and your folded edge is going to line up with the cut edge on the other side of piece P. So again, I'm just going to do my best to get that as straight as I can. And I'm going to have my eye on the fact that my flaps are lining up. So something like this. And again, I can open up the top flap here and then burnish that. So now when I flip it over to the back, I can see my letter P here. You have that 1½ inch space here. I'm going to put some double-sided tape on that. Okay, I had a little bit of a camera disaster there, so my waterfall element is in here and it's not on camera. So basically what I did is on that 1½ inches that I said, I put tape, I've combined that with wet glue, and then I stuck that down right here on the back cover, lining it up with the pencil mark that we made on the ½ inch flap of page 2. So yeah, carefully glued that down. And then you had piece Q, which had one score line. I've tapered that ½ inch, and piece Q I've placed on the other side. You stay away about 1/8 of an inch from your gusset here on the back cover, and make sure that your flaps are lined up with the waterfall flaps. So I hope that's yeah, I think that's doable for you, right? And so then I decided that I was going to work a little bit more on this part where I can finish up the decorating, and I can show you the decorating of the stack pocket. So for the stack pocket, I already have this piece that's long enough to cover the black cardstock. You don't have to go all the way to the bottom, and that also goes for your middle pocket, basically the top pocket. So this pocket measures 2¼ up to the first pocket at the bottom. So what I do is I would cut myself a piece that is about 2½ inches in height. I don't go all the way to the bottom, and of course I'm going to cut it to 6 inches. So I have that piece already here that I used for cutting off these strips. So I'm going to cut off 2½ inches from that. So I can slide this in here. I'm going to ink the edges, and you basically only have to ink 3 sides. There's nothing wrong with it if you ink 4 sides. But and then what I do with my glue, I'm going to put glue on 3 sides along the edge. And then I fill in the top part a little bit. I just stay away about 3/4 of an inch to an inch away from the bottom with my glue. And then I'm going to carefully slide it in the pocket and align it where I want it. So you don't want to put your glue too low, because you have a little bit of a risk that you glue your stack pocket down at the bottom, and then it won't no longer goes all the way to the bottom of the page. Okay, so now I can place this one here, and I can still place this one all the way to the bottom here. So for this, I'm just inking 3 sides, and put glue. I basically also, for this, you can put glue on 4 sides, but I also just do it on 3 sides, because it's a little bit easier for me to slide it in the pocket without sticking down before I want it. So there we have it. And then on this top flap I can place a photo mat, but this one I have here is stamped in the wrong direction. I didn't stamp all of them. So I can place one there, and then I can do a little strip of that pink beside it, next to it. So let's measure. Do we need 1/2 inch or a little under 1/2 inch? I think I want to have a strip that's a little under 1/2 inch by 3.5. So this is 6. So I'm just going to cut off 2 strips of just under 1/2 inch from this piece here. And then I will cut that down to 3.5 inches. So 1/2 inch, just tick mark under there. Yeah. And cut those to 3.5. Put my stamp on my photo mat. So I said it before, I think, but you don't have to place these white photo mats. I do it because it just looks better on camera, basically. You can leave them out. Maybe you want to write down here that you can place a photo with the size. Maybe you want to place your photo right away. Yeah, or just leave it black. If you have a nice white marker, like a gel, like this one, a jelly roll, a gel marker, then you can also doodle something on your black. Okay, so I've inked those strips, and that always makes my fingers really dirty. Some glue. So I'm going to start with gluing down one of the strips. Sorry, there's a dog barking here across the street. So I'm going to aim for an even border on top and bottom. And then I'm going to get my photo mat in and see how I'm going to, yeah, this is pretty good. So you want to do this a little bit quick if you're not sure about the border at the end. But this is pretty good. So now I'm going to put my removable glue on my photo mat here. And just give that a nice border in between, line up top and bottom. Try to do that straight, and then we can glue the other strip down. I already gave up on my, what was it, baby wipes to get rid of the glue. Okay, looking pretty good. So for the photo mats that I'm going to put in here, I have these and I'm going to make a black background mat for it. So these are 3.5 by 5, so you can do 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. Mostly what I do is I'm just going to cut them 1 tick mark under 3 3/4 and 1 tick mark under the 5 1/4, because I like how the border is then around the photo mat. So let's see if I have scrap piece that I can make work for that. There we go. So again, I'm just using my removable glue stick to adhere them on there. And just like I said, when you don't have to place these photo mats in your album, you also don't have to place them on your photo mats. You can just leave them blank. Maybe you want to do some pattern paper on there with your scrap pieces. All is fine. And what you can do to help you with when you want to do something like this, but you want to place a photo in between, just cut one piece to size of the photo mat. Like I know that I'm using mostly this size in the album, but I also have a white that is 6 by 4, and I have a 4 by 4 and a 3 by 4. So you can just use it when you are going to place your pattern paper to help you to determine the width of your pattern paper and place everything nice and straight. And you don't have to glue this down, you just use that everywhere basically. So I can place some of these in these pockets, but I'm going to place one here. For now I can also do a landscape one here, maybe I like that better, but for now this is in there, so that's fine. And yeah, I can work on the front a little bit. So basically what in this one, so this is what I'm going to do with the closure, right? I still have to do that. In this one, I had this pattern paper here in front, and I still have to do all my photo mats. I'm going to do that as the last thing. I don't dislike it, but it also doesn't speak to me a whole lot. And this, I really enjoy how this looks. So I was thinking I'm going to use this combination right here on the front. So I'm going to get those two papers, that is the black gingham plaid, whatever it's called, and the Max, and I think those are 2 different sheets. Okay, so this is what we're working with on this front part here. I've also prepared my circles for the closure, so I can do that in a second as well. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to use the black plaid here on the triangles and here on the front cover, and then the coffee mugs or the cocoa mugs, we're gonna do those on the panels. And I'm going to do photo mats here on the inside of the flap. And then I will think about later what I'm going to do here on the inside. So for this I need a little bit of a wider part, but it's all gonna be 5. So what am I going to do is from this sheet I'm going to cut off 5 inches. And then for the flaps I need 3.5, 2 times 3.5. And I need, I think, 4 1/4 for there. But so those are for the panels, and then here, this is 4 1/4. Alright. Okay, so I'm going to cut it to, I think, 4 1/8 of an inch. And then I have a little strip left. Oh, I did that wrong. I don't need it there. Maybe I can use this here on the back panel. That's fine. I'll probably use it here somewhere. We'll see. Silly me. So let's cut this one to 5. Okay, so I cut off 5 inches there on top and then 2 panels 3.5. It doesn't really matter because it's not gonna show, if you have a continuous pattern, it's not gonna show anyway. Okay, so yeah, I need to cut off an extra strip of this for the triangles. So these are 2.25, so I'm going to cut it 2 inches. And I'm a little bit in doubt if I want to cut it 2 inches like this. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut off 2 inches there. So I did that, and then I'm going to cut it also to 2 inches square. Okay, and now I'm going to see if I cut it on the diagonal, how it's going to lay, how the patterns are gonna lay, because I'm not sure, I don't see that. Okay, can we do this? I think we can, right? Yeah, why not? Okay, so let's stick this down. And then I'm going to, I think here, I'm going to do the journal card that I've used on the waterfall in the other one. Because I really liked how that combined. With a little bit of a black border. Okay, so I'm going to start with my triangles. It doesn't really matter, right? But so now it's a little bit harder to attach all your pattern paper because I don't really have support from the bottom basically, so it's can be a little bit tricky. So I'm just mainly burnishing the edges, yeah, because it's so hard to give pressure on this. So that's why it's actually better to not have your page attached before you decorate. But for albums, that's basically what I do. Sometimes I do the basic decorating, then attach the pages, and then the embellishment will come later. But like placing all your pattern paper, it's just easier if you have that out of your album or cover. Okay, so let's do some photo mats on the inside. I think I still have some more that do have a stamp, I'm not sure. Otherwise I will just stamp them. I always get a lot of questions about my camera stamp. It's a larger set that I found on Amazon. It's like, I think 2-3 years ago. I'm not sure anymore, but I don't find it anymore on there. But more and more brands or companies have a sort of stamp set with cameras, or that includes a camera. So I think if you do a search online, you should be able to find something. Okay, so I'm gonna think about what I'm gonna do here. Maybe something more with the coffee mugs. I'm not sure. This is too short. But what I could do is make a tuck space. Is it too short? That's 1/8 of an inch too short. Bummer. But what about this? Then I would cut it down, right? kind of thinking like if this would be my top flap and I open it, then this is what I would see. If I do it in this way. If I do it in this way, where there will be a little bit more of the muck showing, then this is what I see. I think I like that better. So if I'm going to stick this one down, I'm just going to do it. Let's not think about it too much. So this one we're going to ink and we're going to glue it down completely. On this side. I'm going to do it on this side. So try to get it straight. Okay, I'm gonna find a scrap piece of my black cardstock. And let's see, how far do we want to have this? Maybe like 2 1/4. Then if we have a photo in there. I think 2 1/4 would work. Okay, so I'm going to cut this piece that I got for the panels and didn't need. I'm going to cut it to 2 1/4. Yeah, so I will have like 1 1/4 left. Okay, I think I like that. So for this one, I'm going to cut it to 5. And after I've cut it to 5, I've cut it down to, yeah, I think it's 1 1/4. 1 inch would work. So I'm going to ink this piece. So in my other one I did a belly band there. That can also work, but I'm just making my pieces work for me now. And then I'm going to glue this piece on top of my piece of black here. Where I can still see about 1/8 of an inch from that black. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some glue. But I don't go all the way to one side of the long edge. And then maybe I can do a little bit along that line there, so that edge has a nice stick on the black. And I'm going to place it on here. Try to get that black to be even out, right? Okay, do I still like this? Ooh, you see that? Now maybe we want to cut it down a little bit, because that's dangerous. And on the other hand, if I have a photo in there. Okay, I'm going to cut it down a little bit because I don't want that to catch on to each other. So keep that in mind. So I've made it to where the whole piece is 2 1/2 inches. Re-ink that edge. And let's see that again. That's better. So there is a little bit of a gap. That's fine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my glue on 3 sides. So not on the long side where you have the black cardstock. And we are going to glue this where we stay away a little bit from our fold line there. And line up the edges of your pattern paper. Okay, so now you need to let it dry a little bit more, but we can place 1 or 2 photos in that tuck space there, or something else. Of course, it doesn't have to be a photo, but and we can put a little embellishment there. We have some room. And we can place a photo here, but I need to make background mats for all of that, right? Okay, so quickly let's go here to the closure. I have my circles done with my die cut machine. So I'm going to ink the edges. I did it with a solid pink this time. You can also use a scrap piece of this, for example. But I had a little piece cut off of my solid pink, so I've used that. So I'm gluing this on here. So I didn't use chipboard under these because I thought it was going to be too much bulk. Also because I'm going to place the black dot on there, right? That also is giving some bulk. Okay, so I'm getting a little piece of double-sided tape. It's probably too big already, but we'll see. And I'm just going to glue the end of the twine, what is it, on here. Got my double-sided tape back a little bit. Give that a good burnish. Remove the tape backing and add some wet glue to it. And then we can stick the other circle on top of it. Try to line up your edges. Okay, so that's it. We have that prepared. It's not really tight now, but that's fine. So, of course I need to do the embellishment here. Or, you know what, let's put those dots on there. So I'm using the smallest black ones, and yes, I know you can do this with a pair of tweezers, but being by profession, I'm actually an ICU nurse, and I've worked with tweezers in my work, and these are reverse tweezers, and for some reason, because I'm so used to the normal tweezers, I can't. I'm not able to work with these. Sorry, somebody's having fun on a motorbike. So I'm just doing it with my fingers. Sometimes I do try to work with the tweezers because it's so small, but I'm just struggling with that. Okay, so I've added a little bit of wet glue to really make sure that they stay in place over time. And I just like how that gives that a finishing touch there. So all I need to do for the basic decorating is something right here. I haven't thought about it yet what I'm going to do. I hope I can use that somewhere, that I didn't cut that from nothing, and otherwise maybe in the other album, right? So I'm not too worried about it. So over here what I'm going to do is, but I don't think I'm going to film it for now, is from my 3x4 cut apart sheet. If I can see that one, where it is. Yes, I'm going to use this cut apart here at the bottom that says home is where our story begins. And I'm going to use a die set that I have, stitch die set rectangles that gives me a little bit of a black border. That's where I'm going to glue that on, and then I'm going to glue it here. And that's all that I'm going to do here. Nothing more. You don't want to bulk this up too much. And other than that, I really don't know yet what it is that I'm going to do. So yeah, I think I've covered most of the things that you need to know for this album, but I do think that I will film the rest of the decorating and also the cover, making the cover. So I hope people are interested in that. But yeah, so there will be one more video where we basically finish up this this album. So for now, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy this project and enjoy the rest of your day, and see you in the next one. Bye.